Open them. Come on. Not the most attractive, but you don't know what's happening, do you? You don't know what's going on.
The Taylors have been waiting nearly 2 years for this. Today they've come to Kent County Council offices to pick up a baby to be placed with them for adoption. Julie is 10 days old, but in the few minutes of the handover she'll become Sarah, a sister for Stuart and Neil. She's lovely, healthy, and naturally after such a long wait, Pat and Peter Taylor are thrilled. But perhaps they don't realise just how lucky they are. Babies like this, placed for adoption, are becoming more and more of a rarity, and many of the people wanting to adopt now have to make another decision, whether or not they would take a problem baby.
Well, are you going to take her home?
Yeah.
You sure?
You want to? You sure?
You think she's sweet, do you? I thought you would. Weren't you sure the last time I saw you, were you?
No, you weren't, were you? Changed your mind.
He had his doubts.
You're going to help Mummy now?
No, I will.
Boy. You're going to do the shopping, aren't you?
Hand pusher.
Yeah.
Good shot. I'll get Mrs. Hollis in. She can tell you what the baby's being fed on.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
This is Mrs. Hollis.
Hello, Mrs.
Yeah.
Hollis.
Yeah, she's a very good feeder, this little one. And she's on full cream now. We started her off on the half cream.
Yes.
But now she's on full cream. And she's not fed at night.
Oh, lovely. I wonder, I said to Peter last week, I said, I hope they're not feeding her too much.
No, we're not. She did wake up last night just to have her nappy changed, but she went straight back to sleep again.
Lovely.
So I think, but the thing is that we feed them at 9:30 at night, you see. But if you feed, well, with your 2 boys, you'll know, won't you, if you feed them a bit later. And she's got everything she needs there, nappies, nighties, dresses, bonnets.
Oh, lovely, thank you
We
very
had
much.
no idea this lot was coming then.
No, most people are surprised about this, but,
I think the girl crocheted this.
yes, the girl crocheted that herself.
It's lovely, isn't it?
And she
They're all
did most of
delicate.
the knitted matinee jackets and the booties.
Lovely.
Wonderful.
The Taylors may have waited for 2 years, but in the end they had only a week to get ready for the baby. But this time, at least, they knew it would be the girl they wanted. When Neil was born, Pat Taylor, who's 30, was found to have diabetes and told that another pregnancy could seriously affect her health. With 2 sons of their own and no girls in the family, they decided to adopt. The wait is bad enough. Then there's always the fear, too, that the real mother may change her mind before the court hearing and take the baby back. But 7 days ago, they had a phone call to say that a baby had been born and might be a match for them. They've had some anxious, sleepless nights, but never any real doubts about what they were taking on.
No, I don't think so, not really. As long as the baby was healthy. This was the only thing that I really asked about.
I think this is fair. Not really worried about whether its colour matches ours or anything like that, because to us, as most people, I think, most babies look alike. You know, there's very little difference between them. And all the way along, we've been pretty firmly with our intentions that we are looking for answers to 2 questions. Is the baby healthy? And in 3.5 or 4 months' time, when we come to the application to a court, is the mother going to say yes or no? And these are really the only 2 questions we're bothered about.
What were you told about the natural mother?
Her age, colouring, and
We've had
well,
written...
you're given
we've
written
had some
information.
information verbally, and we've had some written information. We know where she was educated, home circumstances, family circumstances. That's a parents involved in that as well. We know a little about the natural father, but not very much, because I don't think we know any more than the baby's natural mother does. It was only today that we found out the girl's surname, but again, that doesn't really worry us. We're not too much worried whether the baby comes from a broken home or from Buckingham Palace. It's a baby as far as we're concerned.
Not going to here this time because she's getting a bit fretful.
She's got no choice. She's there for the night. Any calls before 2 o'clock, yours. Anything after 2, I'll take.
What?
God bless you, lady. Okay.
In the Bristol nursery of the Church of England Children's Society, these babies are waiting to be placed for adoption. But there are special problems in their histories, or casework still to be done. They are already several months old, and this itself is a worry. The longer the adoption's delayed, the greater the fear of emotional troubles, the more firmly they're placed in the category problem babies. This nursery can hold 31 children, and at present has only 21. Perhaps a happy sign of the times for the authorities. Maybe a sad fact for the couples hoping for a so-called normal baby. Many adoption societies have closed their waiting lists. This small nursery is an accurate reflection of a national pattern, and most workers in this field see the reasons the same way as the matron here, Mary Hutchings.
I think possibly because of the rate of increase of abortions, the change in the Abortion Act has made more legalised abortions. Also, a wider use of the pill. And I think also some girls are thinking that they can keep their own babies themselves. They're getting more help than they did. A lot more is still needed. We haven't very many babies coming in at the moment. We have more toddlers than babies. We had thought that perhaps it was just our nursery, but most of the other nurseries are in the same situation as well.
How long have you been so short of your capacity number?
The number has been steadily dropping since last autumn.
Even though the numbers are dropping, if you want to adopt a baby, you still can, provided you'll take the children most parents don't want. Older children, handicapped children, or even children of mixed race. John Blundell, a teacher, and his wife Sylvia answered an advertisement from the Church Adoption Society, asking for people prepared to adopt mixed-race children, even though they have 2 children and could have had more.
When you heard that Sylvia was adopting a mixed-race baby, what did you think about it?
Oh, I thought it was marvellous because Sylvia and John are exactly the type to do this. They have 2 boys of their own. Yes. And, you know, I think it's a very good thing if you are this way inclined and you feel you want to adopt a child after having 2 of your own, well then I think that's marvellous and they're just the people to do it.
Would you do the same yourself?
I wouldn't myself, no.
Why is that?
Well, it's difficult to say. I think it is, if you don't mind what people say, I mean people are obviously going to talk, and if you don't mind, well all well and good, but I'm afraid I'm that sort of person. I do worry about what people are saying, but I'm quite content with my own 2 children. I'd just rather leave it like that, if it's possible. On the face, give her one on the face.
Yes,
That's
I can say
right.
that to him. Why didn't you do that?
Yes. Aren't we going? Yes, come on. Come on.
They deliberately chose to adopt Georgina, who's part Indian, although their income would only just stretch to a 3rd baby. But what they couldn't be so confident of was whether their choice would create difficulties in their neighbourhood. Coloured people are rare in Sidcup. Later, they know there may be problems for the child and the rest of the family. The difficulties for Matthew, aged 5, and Simon, 8, may already have started.
Well, apparently they have, because we don't hear about these so much as the children themselves, but we did discover from Simon, the oldest boy, that he'd had a fight at school, which he was successful in, I understand, over Georgina. What exactly was said, I don't know, but it obviously enraged him sufficiently enough to come to fisticuffs. But he settled that himself. We had a problem in my own family, which perhaps you'd like to know. We had a letter from my younger brother who said, more or less, there are enough English children or white children. Why do you have to go outside and pick someone that isn't white or of mixed race? And it was rather repugnant in that respect. Perhaps it's best forgotten now because he's obviously had time to think about it. But even within one's own family, it was a little shock to me because I thought we were fairly liberal in our outlook. And before we we were only just investigating the possibility when the letter arrived, and we just left it. We didn't bother to reply. But that is the sort of thing that occasionally happens.
You should say that he comes from an area where there's rather a lot of immigrants, and I think he's perhaps a bit drawn just about this. He lives in Birmingham, and it's perhaps easier for us, with very few immigrants in this area, to be liberal than it is someone who's got a great many of them on their doorstep.
Do you think that it will be easier for Georgina to live in an area where there are very few coloured people rather than in somewhere like
Yes,
Birmingham?
I'm sure it will.
I think so, yes, because, obviously her colour makes a difference. She isn't particularly dark, especially in the winter. It's only during the summer that the pigment of her skin takes the sun, and she does get very brown. I don't think this would be a problem, frankly, and if she's given the right if she's brought up correctly and she goes to a school where there is multiracial children, I don't think there will be a problem. But there are one or two at the local school, but not many, as my wife says.
There are about 3 families who have adopted mixed-race children in this area that I know of. It's becoming an increasing thing around here. But they are almost exclusively Anglo-Indian. Very few West Indian or African babies.
Would you have considered a West Indian or African?
Yes, it wouldn't have mattered to us. It just happened that the one we were offered was Anglo-Indian, and we said, well, you know, she would do.
When you looked at her, did you think that's the baby for me?
No, I can't say I felt this exactly. I just thought I like her. I think I could make her my child. I didn't feel this with my own sons when they were born. I've never felt any overwhelming rush of mother love for them. It was just the baby. And I felt this with her. She was a delightful baby. I thought she could become my daughter. But I don't know that I wouldn't have thought this about another baby offered to me just the same way. We had a very upsetting first week with her. She cried almost non-stop. I was told by the Adoption Society this is natural, and also the reaction you get. They fully expect this. I mean, you're sort of keyed up to take the child, and then all of a sudden the child's there. Especially with us, we waited such a very short time, a bare 2 months. And whereas with a natural birth, you've got 9 months to adjust to it. All of a sudden, you're handed this baby like a basket of washing. And she was, I think she missed her foster mother, young as she was. And she did cry almost non-stop, night and day, for a week.
Do you now think of her as an adopted baby, or do you almost believe that she's yours?
It's a difficult question. I think of her mother a great deal. I feel extremely sorry for her mother. She was a very unfortunate young woman. But she is mine. I don't think I've borne her. I know I haven't. But she's still mine as completely as the boys are. I feel no difference in affection between her and the boys who I did actually have myself.
Yes, we try to give the impression to the other boys, to our own boys as well, that she's not one of these children who was left on a doorstep. Her mother did in fact want her, but circumstances were such that she couldn't keep her. And I think this is important. The children realise this. She is ours, there's no doubt about this, but her original mother felt strongly about her and didn't simply abandon her. Perhaps this has some effect on the child itself later on, if the brothers understand this.
You're red. Oh, nasty and sore.
There are worries for any parents who adopt. When the child is a different colour, or in any other way out of the ordinary, the problems can be much greater. And they aren't problems that get any smaller as the child grows older. A coloured baby is as delightful as any other baby in the bath. A coloured teenager with white parents may need more patience and understanding and protection than most parents can give.
Tata. Tata. Come on, you can say it. Tata. Papa. There you are.
Sylvia, looking at her now, it's hard to imagine anybody could ever be unpleasant about her, but have you had anything from people?
One or two remarks that may have been constructed as unpleasant. I don't think they were intended as this. I think they were sheer thoughtlessness.
What sort of things?
You know, things about what are you going to do when she's 20, and will your friends who have sons continue to be friends with you if there's a possibility they may want to marry her? But this is all hypothetical. I mean, we'll meet these problems when they come.
Of course, Georgina, like most year-old babies, can break down any barriers of race or creed just by being there, certainly as far as her grandfather is concerned. All the arguments that go on and all the social problems tend to be forgotten when the reality turns out to be as charming as this. But of course, not you, you're different is only partly a solution.
All of them, yes. Hello?
Mrs. Justin, you're obviously very fond of Georgina now. What did you think when Sylvia first said that she was going to adopt her?
Oh, we were very thrilled. You know, she told us, I think, about... Ooh, you told us about a couple of months before, really. You know, she said she had her name down. You know, we were very thrilled, you know, to know that she had adopted a little daughter. Her little daughter.
Did she tell you at the time that she was going to take a mixed-race baby?
Yes, she did mention it, and, well, as I say, we didn't, you know, think anything of it. We just sort of took it as normal, like as if she was adopting a normal... Well, as to say, we accept Georgina as if she is a normal... Well, I say normal, you know, as a white child.
I like children myself, and I'm not all that... I don't go to church regular, but as I say, when the Lord says, suffer little children to come unto me, it didn't mean just specified white children. So they could be all kinds of coloured children. But as we got a grandmother, well, Sylvie's mother, she's very dark. Well, matter of fact, she goes out in the garden for a couple of days in the spring, for the summer, and she comes in, she's like a gypsy, brown as a berry, and she could be taken for this baby's grandmother.
I said that to the other
This is
day
true.
to Sylvia. Her eyes are dark.
People have remarked when they've seen her out that she looks like a grandma. So there's
She does.
nothing about that, you see, against that. But as we go, as I go around, I see little Indian children. But I don't say, oh, is it? Well, you know, I don't mention the word. I pat them on the head and everything like that, and as far as I'm concerned, they're all children. You see what I mean? But some of this prejudice, it's a bit too much. And as Sheila said just now, but later on in a few years' time, people will get used to it. When I was a youngster and I saw a coloured man, it was a rarity. You took an after him and pat him on the back for luck and things like that. Well, now there's, in Birmingham and places like that, there's 25%, I dare say, of coloured people. So you must finally get used to it.
Mrs. Justin, would you ever think of adopting a child like Georgina yourself?
Oh, well, Sylvia did suggest to me, because, you know, I've got 2 boys, and I've always said I wanted a little girl. I don't know, you know, I might be able to have a little girl myself one day, but I have really, I would definitely like, if I did adopt a child, my husband said, you know, he'd rather adopt a, well, not a white, because I think you can find plenty of homes for white children, but for a coloured child, I think, you know, you can sort of give them a good try in life. And as I do think in years to come that they will be accepted at school now they're accepted.
You know, if anybody wants any more, you will tell me, won't
A
you?
kitchen full of children in a large family house in North London. The Harris children are all adopted. The eldest, James, when he was 5 weeks old, but the younger boys, Samuel, and the little girl, Judith, were a good deal older, old enough to be classed as problem babies.
Is that better?
Judith was 15 months old before she found this mother and father and started to settle.
All right, eat it with your fingers then. That's right.
And Samuel, who's now a handful of a 3-year-old, was already 12 months before he arrived, and was quite evidently from the beginning a problem for Gerald and Amalia Harris.
He was very withdrawn. Very withdrawn, and he had been placed with a foster mother who had a lot of very small babies, and she had treated him, I think, as a small baby. And although he was a year old, he didn't behave like a child of a year old. I expect you would call him backward. But his main characteristic was that he was very withdrawn, very, very difficult to communicate with in any way.
Is he still a withdrawn child in comparison to the
Absolutely
others?
not. He's a complete extrovert. He's a complete extrovert.
It lasted a whole week.
Well, he began to change quite quickly. It took a long while, really,
Yes.
but it was a gradual process. But after a week, he began to wake up, and he he just developed so quickly that it was amazing to watch. When he came to us, he couldn't stand on his legs at all, which was amazing because very tiny babies can take their weight on their legs, but he couldn't. And within 2 months, he was walking perfectly normally, which were a lot of stages to go through in such a short time.
We had the feeling with him that life suddenly burst into glorious technicolor.
Decide which one it should be. But neither of them wished to marry a man with a blue beard.
Judith and Samuel are brother and sister, though they're both adopted, and even came from different societies. All the Harris children know they're adopted because they had it explained, but to Samuel at his age, the facts don't really mean much more than a bedtime fairy story.
Spent the whole night playing pranks upon one another. Yeah, get it! I get it!
Louise Hawkins has always been a happy, confident little girl. She's only 2 but plays easily with the older children in the road, despite the fact that she has damaged hands. Her adoptive parents, Joan and Roy Hawkins, an architect, had been trying to adopt a baby for 7 years. They'd agreed to take any child with any problem except mental illness. But they were hindered with the societies because they have no religion. Louise finally came through the independent, formally agnostic adoption society, but even that took 3 years. By this time, her adoptive mother-to-be was nearly 40 and desperate for a baby. She'd been working as a midwife, and when she was told she couldn't have children of her own, it was a terrible blow to her.
Terrible. I don't think I've ever felt like that in my life before. And I was health visiting at the time, and really, in a way, had to give it up, because I just couldn't face seeing babies, new babies, and looking at them and handling them, and not having one of my own, and knowing that I couldn't have one of my own.
We replied to a postcard in the shop window.
Yes.
And within half an hour of this postcard going in the shop window, it had 9 applicants for the baby.
How was the postcard worded?
We didn't see it. We
didn't
heard
do
of
it, a
through
friend
an
did it, and then passed them on to us. And this is how it came. And this was something I would never have done, say, 10 years before. I would have thought it was the most terrible thing to do.
And you were too late in that case, were you?
Both babies were kept. We had 2, and we were going to take both of them, one in June and one in July, and we'd have had them both, but they both decided to keep them. And so this failed as well. But I feel that the law as it is for adoption makes people do what is not really a very good idea. I mean, I had to face it in my own mind then that third party wasn't a very good idea. You have no history of the baby, no history of the family as a rule. But even so, you will do it. And it's wrong to do it, and people will go this way because they're forcing them into it all the time.
At this stage you were clearly very unhappy. Was it putting strains on your marriage?
No, I don't think so. I didn't feel so. I don't know how Roy felt, because I still was working. I went back into hospital and thought, well, if I get away from babies, so I went to the other extreme and did geriatrics, and I had my work, so I wasn't completely sort of just sitting at home hoping and praying. But it was there all the time in me that I really wasn't doing what I wanted to do.
How did you finally manage to adopt Louise?
We went to an adoption society, and they at least wrote to us for our interview. We had been on the waiting list 3 years, and we went for an interview together, and then we had 2 separately, and we were accepted by the board, and they let us know this, and then we just waited until they let us know that Louise was there. But of course Louise was special, and it happened quite quickly in the actual 3 months.
Why did you say she was special?
Well, she's handicapped. She has, I never call her handicapped, but she has only half her fingers on each hand. She has complete thumbs, but only half her fingers on each hand. I ought to say, by the way, that I didn't want a girl. I wanted boys, all boys. But even that didn't stop me, because she's that sort of baby. When we saw her, it was all right, it was a girl, it didn't matter.
Until you saw her, were you worried about the fact that she was called handicapped?
No, nothing. We had discussed this with the caseworker. She had asked us if we were against having handicapped children, and we had said no. The only stipulation we made, not mentally handicapped. We felt this wasn't fair to the child as well as ourselves. And any other minor, at least what they call minor handicap, we would take quite happily. As I say, I wanted boys, but when I saw Louise, no, it was quite all right.
And she had been refused by other prospective adoptive parents on account of the handicap.
And it never
But,
occurred to
the
you
loss
to
is
refuse
theirs,
her?
not ours. Sorry?
It would never have occurred to you at the time to have refused her?
No.
Not for that reason. No, not for that handicap reason.
She has so much besides, you know, and has always had it, even from a tiny baby that has been terrific personality and everything she's got besides. So this is nothing, it doesn't mean anything to her. Oh, I forget, I don't even know that she's, you know, I'll say, oh, be careful of your fingers, you know, she goes through a door and I know very well she can't catch her fingers in the door because they're too small to be caught in a door. I just don't know that it's there. But I think people tend, you know, a little bit to say, oh, well, nurses know it all. I had never nursed handicapped children as such, although I'd come across the odd one. Mine were, and as a midwife, I mean, mine were babies, you know, that were in the nursery and with their mothers. But I wasn't afraid of what I was going to see. But I still have the same problem as how I'm going to cope with it. I may be a little harder, perhaps, that I'm able to say, well, she must do that for herself, rather than run and help her, because I know this is the best way. And I may be better from that point of view. But I still have the same problems as any other mother, as which is the best way to cope with it, because I have never lived continually with any handicap. And also, it's very different when it's your own. You can look at a patient and say, well, yes, well, when I go home tonight, I can forget. But you can't forget a child that's in your own home and it's your child. So I still have the same problems, really, except I'm not afraid of what I'm going to see.
What about the future, when she goes to school and when she wants to go out in the evenings, starts dressing up?
I think this is the problem. Not so much perhaps early school days, but teenager, you know, put nail varnish on and the lipstick and let's go out and meet the boys. I think this is when we'll have a little bit of emotional. And I'm just hoping that if we can give her enough security as a young child and that we accept what it is, that she will be able to face it. And we will have trouble, like, you know, she'll be upset, she's sure to be. But I feel if you can give her a good, safe, loving background and she knows that this is where she's, nobody minds about this, that she'll be all right. And I think she's a very bright child. And also this will help her. I feel that she will have so much scope that she will not worry too much about it.
Louise may have been refused by other would-be parents, but the Hawkins felt sure they could not only love her, but cope with any problems her handicap might bring. Joan Hawkins feels that people offered handicapped babies are sometimes frightened by what they might see. If they'd just go and have a look at the baby, it could well be the baby for them. The society that let them have Louise later offered them Justin, a so-called normal baby, to bring up with her. Louise was 18 months when he arrived.
Pick Fluffy up and do a ring of roses with him.
Oh, it stains us.
On that fireplace, yes. Ring of roses.
When she was tiny, Louise learnt very quickly, but when Justin arrived, she went back a lot and wanted to be helped with things she'd managed on her own before. But Mrs. Hawkins doesn't try to hurry her. She finds Louise is the best judge of her own capabilities and limitations. The answer is not to rush to help her, but to sit and watch while she works out her own solution. She amazes everyone by picking up bottles of milk or a pin off the carpet, then sometimes is in no hurry to feed herself.
I love chocolate mousse. I like chocolate mousse.
That's lovely. You're a clever girl, aren't you?
If you're refused by the adoption societies or can't bear the waiting any longer, there is another way open to you, as Sybil and Henry Silver eventually find out. It's known as third-party adoption. The third party is usually a doctor or gynecologist, acting as a link between the natural mother and the would-be adoptive parents. That's how the Silvers adopted Matthew as a baby. Now he's 3, and looking back, it may seem simple. He's legally Matthew Silver. But the authorities don't like adoptions without casework or protections, and the victim, if it goes wrong, is of course usually the child. The Silvers have no religion, but couldn't be helped by the Independent Society because they're both on the committee. They tried everything, and through no fault of their own were still waiting when a local authority caseworker advised them to consider third-party adoption.
He said, we'll never get a child the way through the ordinary channel because of this religious block, us being agnostics and Jews, was impossible. So he said, I've written you out a list, he said, of where I think the babies are coming from. And they were from gynecologists.
How many did he give you?
About 7. And then I came away and either phoned them or wrote to them.
Can you remember the first interview you went to with the gynecologist?
Clearly. Clearly. He offered us a dog. He said, would you like a dog? He said, or a painting, or something. You sure, you know?
Sure you want a baby?
And then he offered me an operation. I've never forgotten that. I'd gone through all these years of these investigations, and he offered me an operation.
Oh,
He
yes.
said, just an investigation. He said, we cut you open and see what it's all about.
How did you finally decide that the attitude of the gynecologist that you took Matthew from was the right one?
I think he had a fairly responsible attitude, and he was concerned that the child he was trying to place should find a good home with
He cared,
responsible
didn't he?
parents. He cared about the child, where the child was going. And he also cared what sort of people we were. It seemed the right balance to us.
How much did he tell you about the natural mother?
A fair amount. Largely the thing that impressed us, he told us about her sort of personality, and she seemed to us to be the sort of person we would have been very happy to have known, socially, to have as one of our friends.
When you approached this doctor, was there any degree of secrecy involved?
Oh, no,
Quite
he
above board, quite open.
He had
Anybody will go.
He had a page.
There's nothing illegal about it, because no money is exchanging hands. I dare say there are adoptions of this type. I've read about them, but I've never. This is something we never came in.
No.
The question of
contact.
money never came up.
No, we never came in contact with anybody asking for money.
Did you assume that the question of money had come up with the natural mother?
Or with the natural mother, she'd been in the nursing home, and I presume she'd paid for being cared for in the nursing home in the correct and proper manner.
Can you remember the doctor first ringing you up to say that he'd got Matthew for you?
No, clearly.
Yes.
What happened?
Well, he just phoned up and said he'd got a baby, and did we want this lovely baby boy? So I said, just a minute, I'll ask my husband. I'll ring you back, which is what I did, and we phoned back in about 10 minutes' time and said, when can we see him?
How much later did you go down and see him?
Next day. We were there at 9 o'clock
12
in the
hours
morning.
later.
Yes, we
Well,
were there.
13 hours later.
We were there in the morning and then collected him in 10 days' time. It'll fall off. Oh, fall off the edge. Well, get it on then. I'll tell you. What I want to know is what I did for 13 years before we had you. Come on.
Sybil was 39 by the time she got Matthew, and things have worked out fine. But she knows better than most that third-party adoption is a risky business, and still feels angry with a system which forced her into it.
You might be special, but you're not so clever. Come on.
Sybil, what have you told Matthew about adoption?
He knows that normally, that when you're married, as we try to put over to him, you have a baby in your tummy. And that if you can't have a baby in your tummy and you want a baby, then you must adopt a baby. This is the way, this is all he knows.
That's got to be like that.
Having to tell him, does it make you aware that he's not your own natural child?
No, just love him all the more, really. Just love him all the more. That it shall never be a shock to him. That's all I'm concerned with. That he shall always know it as if he was growing up with something else special about him. This is a special thing.
Sometimes when you're cross with him, do you find that you're tempted to think that your own natural child might have been cleverer or better looking or anything like that?
I don't think we could have produced one like this. We couldn't have produced one as in every way. He feels to us just, I cannot imagine feeling any more love for a child than I do for Matthew. That's why I'm quite sure we couldn't, we love him so much. We couldn't have had anything better than this.